Hello, Delaware Food Pharmacy families. Thank you for joining us for another DASH diet video. My name is Shannon and I'm a registered diet technician and chef. Today we have a very special guest, Christiana's own community educator, Michelle Torres.
Hello.
Yay! She is going to show us how to make her world famous sofrito, so let's get started. Michelle.
Yes.
Can you tell us all the ingredients that you use for your sofrito?
Sure. We're going to use culantro. We're going to use cilantro, and these are two separate different spices. People confuse them, think they're the same, and they're not. We're going to use onion. We're going to use a green pepper for the specific recipe. However, I prefer the colorful peppers, whether it's red, the orange one, the yellow one, because it brings like a sweet flavor to the sofrito, and we're going to use also a garlic.
Okay, so while you're cutting this down and just showing people how you would put it together, I'm going to ask you a few more questions about you. So you get started and I'll ask you a little bit about some questions.
Not a problem. All of these have been pre-washed already. Okay, so that's really important. You need to make sure you wash it. But all we're going to do, there's no like fancy technique or anything. Basically, all we're going to do is cut it down into small pieces so that if we're using a processor, we can use that. If you want to use a blender, because you can fit more in it, you could also do that. But if the processor that you're using is small, then what we can do is we'll put it in there and just do like spice by spice, whether it's the onion, green peppers, the garlic, the cilantro, and culantro, and then we can mix it together as well. So basically what I'm going to do is, as you can see, I'm just cutting them into small pieces to make it easier to fit in the blender or the processor. Okay,
Michelle, I'm going to give you a bowl to put that in.
Sure, that's a great idea.
Some space for it. There you go.
Thank you
and then we
so
can set
much.
it aside.
Yes. Okay, so that's your culantro. We're then going to take our cilantro as well, and we're going to just do the same thing. We're just going to cut it down. So again, there's no fancy way of doing it. Just cut it down to make it easier for the processor and the blender to do its job.
Michelle, where did you learn how to make this?
I learned from my grandmother and also my dad. My grandmother, of course, she was always in the kitchen. Who doesn't love a mom who's always in the kitchen? So grandma was always in the kitchen cooking for the family, and I always liked to be in the kitchen. So literally I used to be put in a little chair because, I was a little kid, and I used to just look over her shoulder because I wanted to know what she was doing. And literally I used to say, can I help you with that? And she would say, sure, come on. So she would give me, of course, a butter knife, and I would just, cut little things down.
So now you're cutting down your pepper.
Yes. Now with the pepper, because of the seed, I like to cut it down a little bit towards the like in the middle of the pepper to make it easier and make sure I'm getting all the seeds out. I don't like to have the seeds inside the sofrito. So I'm doing the same thing here. Okay. And here we go. So those are already in two little pieces, so we can just put it in there. So now all I'm going to do is the same thing. There is no fancy way, just cut them down so that the processor and the blender can do its job when you're putting it in there. So here we go. And as you can see, I'm putting it all in the same bowl. It doesn't matter because it's going to only the same blender. And then we're going to do our onion.
And those are Spanish onions, correct?
That's correct. Now, I've seen people use the purple onion. You can do that as well. I prefer the yellow onion because it seems to give the food more flavor. So when I'm seasoning, whether it's beef, seafood, chicken, I use it when I make homemade chicken soup or any type of soup. If I'm doing a stew, so you can pretty much use it in everything.
Everything.
Okay.
How long have you been with Christiana for?
I've been with Christiana for 8 months.
Okay. And what's your favorite thing about your job?
My favorite thing is working with the patients that have chronic condition, teaching them, motivating them how they can cook the meals that they love, but do it healthier, high protein, low carb. I try to encourage them also exercise, some sort of exercise, so that they understand and see, yes, I'm eating healthy, but some sort of healthy exercise, moderate exercise. We don't try to, do really hard exercise, but modern exercise, that way they'll start seeing it different right away. Hey, I'm having a high protein, low carb, I'm having moderate exercise, and they will literally start seeing their weight fall off just by changing the way they're cooking and making sure they're doing it the right in a healthy way. So for this specific recipe, we're going to use the 2 onions. Now, if you're the type of person that looks at the yellow onion and says, oh my God, it's going to make me cry, what I do is I put it in water. And that cuts down from having that sensation in your eye.
Yeah, it's actually the sulfuric compounds. Don't ask me why I know this. It's the sulfuric compounds that make you cry. So there's 2 tricks. There's one is you can put them in water. You can put them in the refrigerator. Or if you leave on the base, in other words, that bottom part that has like the weird hairy stuff, that's where most of them concentrate, so you're less likely to cry if you leave the base on them. Just little tidbits here.
I didn't know that one. But I always put it in water to make it. In this specific case, I did not, but I've made sofrito so much that my eyes don't get irritated. But I always tell people, hey, put it in water.
She's making it through the tears.
Yes, I am.
And you told me an interesting story earlier that Culantro grows just naturally in Puerto Rico.
That is correct.
So cool.
Yeah,
So
and
cool.
there is actually a farm in the island where you will see these ingredients that are used in sofrito grown in that farm. And that farm literally produces the sofrito that are pretty much sold in the supermarket in the island.
I mean, it's not as good as yours, but
yeah, I prefer to do it myself. That way I know, what I am getting, from what I make.
All right, so what are you doing with this garlic?
Right now I am just peeling the garlic, as you can see, and that way you don't have to cut them in tiny pieces or anything like that, because the blender is going to do all that for you. Now, my preference is if you can put them in water, because it's easier if you put them in water for you to peel them, compared to struggling like I am right now, trying to peeling them and then smashing them. And
the one thing that I do is before I even smash it, I actually cut off the base of it, that part where the little hair is, and then when I smash it, they pop right out. So I don't even peel it. I just smash it with the
actual skin.
Yep.
Okay.
And the whole thing comes right out.
There you go. So if you have a processor, of course, remove the lid from the processor. Okay. And it doesn't matter in what order you blend it, whether it's a blender or you're putting it in your processor. So basically what I do is I take a little bit of water, and you can see it here, and I pour a little bit in there. This makes it easier for it to start breaking apart. Okay. Okay, so we're just going to start that way. Okay. All right.
You can see how broken up it is.
Right. So you can continue to add until you can't add any more to make it easier for you. It saves you time. Okay. So and you're going to smell the aroma. You're going to smell the aroma as you're blending it in. So if your kids come down to the kitchen, or even your significant other, or even your neighbor starts knocking at the door because the smell is outside your apartment, it's okay. You get to show them you know how to cook and you know how to put it together. So what I do is I will basically put it in a bowl as I'm smashing it up or chopping it up, and you can see it. So you're going to start seeing those beautiful colors just blending in. So again, and again, there's no specific way that for you to do it. Just make sure you're chopping everything up so you can blend it together. All right, so as you can see, we are done. Okay. And now here comes the fun part. We're going to mix everything together. All right. And now we're just going to mix all of the ingredients together.
So Michelle, how long will this last for?
Believe it or not, you can leave. Some people actually freeze it. Like they'll take a small container, and you can use a container of this size. Some people actually use a bigger container, and you can use a bigger container. Some people, believe it or not, they would take like a jar of mayonnaise that's no longer being used. They'll clean it out and use that. That way they can put it in their freezer, and pretty much it'll last you up to 6 months.
That's amazing.
Okay, some people, I even suggested, if they're always cooking, take a small ice tray, the one with the very small cubes. You can get them at Amazon, and this is, I'm not paying for advertising. So, but you could buy it at Amazon or any other dollar store. You could also get them there, and you can put them in those small cubes. Once they're frozen, get just a sandwich bag or a Ziploc bag, and put those little cubes in there. And whenever you're using them, it's so easy. You take it out of the freezer and you put it
Instant flavor punch.
Yes. Okay. So this is all ready mixing together.
All right.
Here you go.
Thank you so much
You're
for showing us
welcome.
how to do this. Thank you so much for coming today.
Oh,
like
thank
I
you,
really had so much fun having you here. You're so talented and smart and amazing. It's been really a pleasure.
Well, thank you, and I'm happy to be here to share this experience with you as well. Thank you again for joining us today. I hope it was helpful. In your next video, we will be using our sofrito to make a crema topping for a pan-seared salmon. And remember, if you have any question, you could always reach out to our community team at Christiana.